Hey guys, how's it going? It's Orlos. I really wanted to make this video just to kind of give the sim racing community another outlook on an item that I've had for a long time and really have not seen utilized at all, to be honest, in the sim racing community. And it's something that I think a lot of people could benefit from. So I'm talking about TrackIR. I actually found out about TrackIR by playing Arma 3 or Arma 2 back in the day doing Milsim, and then I picked it up. I loved it. I used it for a long time between Arma and other games, and then flight sims, because that was the first sims I really got into. Now in racing sims, it was something I never really used, never really tried. Um, and then finally one day I was like, you know what, let's try it, because I know most games are compatible with it. And I tried it, and it really like changed how I drive. Um, I don't use it as often as I probably should, and I'll probably start using it more after this video, honestly. But it kind of gave me the mix, like what I liked with VR and the pros, without the cons that I had with VR. Um, so I really wanted to make this video to kind of talk about TrackIR, what it is, pros and cons of each of TrackIR and VR. Um, but to start off, there is some disclaimers. So for VR, I have a Rift S, an Oculus Rift S. Some headsets slash PCs might perform better or worse than mine does. I have a pretty beefy PC. There's definitely better out there, don't get me wrong, but there's definitely PCs that couldn't handle a Rift S. There is also better headsets out there that are, in the $1,000 price range and are definitely gonna maybe alleviate some of the issues that I had with VR. Um, Also, I am super bad at sim racing. I've been sim racing for less than a year now, and so that is something to take into account in these videos. This video is not ACC versus iRacing by any means. I've only tried VR in ACC, F1 2020, and iRacing. I'm only going to show VR clips from ACC and iRacing, as F1 2020 is really awkward and kind of hard to set up. It's through a third-party program and doesn't really look good. It's more of a novelty thing than a competitive thing. Um, Now, I have also never used or tried triple monitors, so I can't really speak to how they compare to VR and TrackIR. So I'm kind of leave those out. It's for the budget. This is more for budget people like myself that are just bad at saving money and don't have the desk space for triples. Um, so let's start out with TrackIR. What is it? So TrackIR is it's a head tracking software. When you buy it, you get this little like camera that you can put on your computer, and it comes with some options. So I have a track clip is what it's called. It's this little bad boy. You can kind of see it's just a little clip. That's it. And the camera will track onto that. You can move your head around all directions, and it's great. Um, there is a budget option with this called Track Hat. I've never tried it. I don't really know a ton of people who use it, but I've heard it's super cheap and some people like it. As of the making of this video, TrackIR is currently $149.95 USD on the TrackIR website, and that's for this clip, the track clip. For TrackIR with the ProClip, it's going to be $169.96, and for just the ProClip, it's $34.95. So not too bad, especially for sim racing. It's really not that bad of a cost. Um, you might also find that cheaper on other sites and Facebook Marketplace, things like that. The big pro that I've found with TrackIR compared to VR is it's not super disorienting, because really all you're doing is moving the camera. It's not rendering anything. You're still looking at your screen. It literally just moves the camera. Um, Sorry about that noise. And then it's really easy on the graphics card since, like I said, it's just moving the camera. It's not rendering anything. Um, it's great for streamers and recording. It doesn't affect your system settings at all. And most games are compatible with it. Pretty much every major sim that sim racing has right now, TrackIR works with. Um, the cons are it's not really immersive. I mean, you move your head, sure, but you don't really get the same immersion level like VR. It can be annoying at times, especially when, like, I had a ProClip for a long time, which the ProClip I didn't really talk about, but it actually like goes onto your headset. So rather than a hat, It can go on your headset, usually just depending on the side you want. Um, so you don't have to wear a hat. I had one. I loved it. My cat chewed up both of mine, actually. My big con with the ProClip was it would wrap with the cable of my headset and just cause a tangled mess. Um, this isn't really a con. I mean, it is, but it's kind of a eh. Over time, you will kind of start to naturally turn your head with TrackIR. Like it will just become very natural, where you're just going to kind of like look into the apex without even realizing. But at the start, it's almost like you think about it. You know, it's not natural. You go like, oh, I need to look into the apex when I turn. So you kind of like, well, it just becomes awkward. A big thing that people might not get, they'd be like, well, and you'll see in the clips that I play, hey, you know, if I turn my head a little bit, you know, don't I have to like pretty much look sideways away from my monitor to see? No. It's almost like a 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 ratio. So if you move your head like 1 inch, it's going to move it 3 inches. It's really not bad. It sounds more complex than it really is. So now we're going to move into VR. Little thing with the VR, a lot of my clips didn't really record right, and that's kind of going to play into later on when I talk about streamers specifically. Uh, you can't see anything. When you are in the HMD of a VR HMD, you cannot see anything. You, I mean, you can't look at your OBS. You can't look at like a lot. Even to get chat, you have to usually buy another program to display Twitch chat in your headset, which can also be kind of weird because you know you're like in a car cockpit or a flight sim cockpit, right? And then there's this chat box next to you. So it takes some time to get used to. For actual driving, though, the pros are it's super immersive. I mean, especially with flight sims, because that's what I originally got my VR headset for. You get into that and you're like, holy crap, I'm actually in, you know, an F-16 or I'm actually in a Lamborghini Evo. And it's great. I love it. I love how immersive it is. I really feel like I'm in it. I'm in the race. But that comes with cons. And those I'll kind of talk about later with the immersion thing. But the other pro is it really gives you an edge on hitting apexes. So like I said, I'm pretty new overall to sim racing. I found it way easier to hit my apexes in VR. Partially because I could actually like, look and you know look down and out of the car, and it just became very natural, especially Monza Turn 1. I've struggled with Monza Turn 1 my whole like sim racing career. In VR, it like isn't that bad. Like I'm way better. The con with that is that, you know, it can kind of be disorienting, like I kind of mentioned with the TrackIR. VR is just plain cool. It is really cool. I love my VR headset. It's almost like a gimmick kind of thing. Like when I have friends come over, I'll be like, hey, you want to try this? They're like, well, I do sim racing or flight sims at home. I'm like, no, try it in VR, dude. It's different. And they're like, this is so cool, right? It does wear off, especially when you do it a lot. But I love having it because it's kind of just that nifty thing that every once in a while I love going in. I also kind of found it's more natural with VR to just turn my head and look around than with TrackIR. There is a con with that as well that I will talk about, but it was very natural, you know, when especially iRacing. So I did iRacing today for the first time in VR, and it was super great. It ran great. It was natural. I felt great in it. ACC is a little different, and then F1 is really different. But now we kind of get into the cons. So the VR headsets can get super expensive super fast. Uh, the Rift S, as of right now, I actually just looked and couldn't. They don't sell it on the Rift website, on the Oculus website, and on Amazon, it doesn't sell through Oculus. It sells through another company, and the cheapest one I could find was $600. Now, you know, we are in kind of the end of a pandemic where a lot of stock is kind of questionable, and VR headsets have kind of been hard to get anyway. Um, that being said, $600 is a lot, and realistically, you could probably buy triples or a lot of other things for $600. I mean, I think my pedals, my wheelbase, and my wheel together were $600. So take that in mind. Another con, it's hard to find stock for it. Like I said, it can be really taxing on a PC. So I run a 2070, or sorry, a 2080, GTX 2080, and it's a really strong card. And it works great. I don't really have any issues with VR. from that sense, but I know a lot of computers struggle. Um, it's hard. It really taxes your computer, especially if you're trying to stream with that. You know, streaming already adds a level of taxation to your computer. VR just doubles that. Um, then it's disorienting. And honestly, this is more of a personal thing. It hurts my eyes. Every time I take the VR headset off, I'm almost like dazed, like, where am I? You know, part of that is because it's super immersive when you're using it, then you come back to the real world. Also, it just hurts. Like, you know, when you're looking at a computer screen, I'm right now probably, I don't know, 5 feet, maybe less. I'm probably less than 5 feet from my monitor, but you know, a decent distance, like a normal distance, right? In VR, the screens are like here. I mean, they're like right up against your face. Um, your eyes will hurt. Especially if you're into endurance racing, that might be something to take into account because I know when I did flight sims and I would do like DCS World for 9 hours at a time, doing these long campaign missions with my friends on multiplayer that we would like build. I mean, my buddy would build them for like months. After a couple hours, I actually would have to like land and pause the game and get up and just leave for a couple minutes because my eyes hurt so bad. And granted, in endurance racing, you know, you have stints and all of that, but it just something to keep in mind. Another thing is in VR, you, like I said, you can't see anything. You can only see the HMD. So as a streamer, that can be kind of bad, or just in general, it's hard to see outside of, you know, the HMD. You have to lift it up. It becomes really disorienting and awkward, not great. Um, but those are kind of my cons for just VR. Now I want to move into streamer considerations because, you know, I try to stream, not, I don't stream as much as I would like, but I do stream. Um, with VR, you're definitely going to need a beefy computer, and even more than just running it, just a beefy computer. It can be very disorienting to not only you, but to your viewers, and honestly can turn people off. I know people who have said, I really like this streamer, but they do VR, and it's really disorienting, and they don't have it, and it's really jittery, so I don't watch them. That's not great if you're a small streamer like me, where every view counts. Um, on the other side, it can be super painful to set up. I know when I first tried to stream VR, just getting it set up was the biggest pain in the butt. And I don't even have it set up well. I mean, that's what happened with my ACC clips is I spent like an hour filming all these ACC clips only to realize that uh, uh, I forgot to resize the Oculus stream program that basically I can record from, screen capture. I forgot to resize it to OBS, so it was massive. So you see a lot of the screen is cut off in the clips. Um, that is definitely something I would keep in mind. It's not easy to set up and make look good. People like Zabzy, for example, if you look him up on Twitch, he streams almost exclusively in VR on ACC, and the dude has so many extra programs and things that he has to like help stabilize it and just all this stuff for VR. I don't. Um, Another part of that, and I guess this goes back to a con of VR that I forgot to include in my list, is it's really hard to see the HUD. So if you are used to racing where you like see all the HUD information, so like ACC, you can see your relative and all of that. At ACC especially, you pretty much can't see anything because the HUD's like normally, you know, in front of you on the screen. In VR, it's almost like it's behind you. You have to like kind of crane your neck and look. And that is not great, especially like in ACC when I was doing races, I would want to look up and see like how much time is left. And I can't just like use my eyes. I would have to physically look up to see the timer, which takes your eyes off the road, and it becomes really stressful. And you know, pit stops become a pain because you're like this trying to see the HUD to change settings, and yeah, it's tough. I also have a button box, and ACC, that's how all my buttons are in my button box. Well, I can't see anything because remember I have an HMD on for VR, so I'm just kind of like flailing my arms around like, oh, is this my button box? Am I hitting the right button? That can get really tiring really quick. You have to really know, you know, where your buttons are. Um, for streamers, though, let's go back to that. I know I kind of go back and forth, but for TrackIR, it's really not going to change a whole lot. It's pretty easy, pretty plug and play. You're not going to see any stream quality changes. It's super easy to set up. Um, there's not a ton of cons to it. My overall impression, realistically, guys, is that both are great. Both are great products. Um, I use both. I have both, and I like both. I like having a VR headset. I also like having TrackIR. I will switch between both of them. They each have their own pros and their own cons. It's just things to take into consideration. There is no one way is the best. Um, that being said, I also can't talk about triples because I haven't used them. So, in the future, if I get triples, I might be like, oh, this is so much better than TrackIR or VR. Like, this is the best. I also don't know if with triples, if TrackIR would work very well. I don't know how it would handle, moving 3 screens at once. I don't know. That would be something that I could look into, but I don't really know that well. Um, some of the clips that you're going to see play are just different things. Uh, some of them I included because they were crashes and I could, kind of look back at the track or in turns or different things like that. But that's pretty much all I got, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope this information helped. I haven't really seen anyone use TrackIR in the sim racing community, and I think it's a great asset that a lot of people could benefit from. Um, please leave some comments if you have any questions about TrackIR or VR. I can answer them to the best of my ability. Please like and subscribe. I know it helps me out a ton. I'm a pretty small channel. Twitch.tv/Orlos is my Twitch. I don't really have a schedule right now. I should probably work on that, but I do try to stream as much as I can. With that being said, thank you so much for joining me, guys, and I will see you next time. Peace.